You're about to learn how to make a super easy and delicious granola recipe. One that you'll be able to customize to your own taste, as well as how to add in any superfood or herb to get you through your day. Granola is a classic. This is a recipe I learned years ago. I was in college and a roommate of mine, he used to take me, he was the one who actually introduced me to organic foods and this kind of natural way of living and eating. He would just take me to the local grocery store, we'd go to the bulk food section and we'd load up on oats, coconut flakes, dried fruits, nuts, seeds. We'd come home, we'd put it together. He had a few different methods. The kind of the base would be a muesli where it was dry, we'd have it stored in a container. We'd also turn it into granola and that could be our porridge as well. So what I'm going to share with you here today is what I learned in those early days and all the kind of variations I've learned since then. Granola you can make many different ways, and the idea here is we want to add in, take that basic recipe and add in superfoods, add in herbs that'll give us that little edge during the day. You can use a number of different ingredients. We're going to use the base of rolled oats. You can use buckwheat, you can just do nuts and seeds if you want to be totally grain-free. These oats here are gluten-free. Oats are inherently non-gluten, however it's due to the process of how they're grown, oftentimes on a crop rotation with other gluten-containing grains, be it wheat, be it barley, whatever it is. So, year to year, you can get a bit of a contamination that way, as well as in the harvesting, the storage, the flaking process. Oftentimes the same equipment and machinery is used for all those grains, hence that possible for a cross-contamination. At the Light Cellar, we do have oats that are what you would call guaranteed gluten-free. There's no cross-contamination. So if that's something that you're inspired to use, go ahead and check those out. Or if you want, you can eliminate the oats, not use any grain, and just add a more base of nuts and seeds. Another option is using buckwheat groats. You can get kasha where it's been toasted already, or just the regular hulled buckwheat, and that's a really great base as well. So as we go through each step of this recipe, I'm going to give you suggestions and ideas of other ingredients you can use. For my purposes today, I love oats. Maybe it's my Scottish background, I'm not sure. I've always enjoyed eating them, and they work for me in moderation. So I will add that as my base, and I'm going to do 4 cups. You can do more, you can do less, depending on the total volume that you want. But I'm going to go for 4 cups of oats as my base. That's 2, 3, and 4. Again, in the limitless variations of this, you can do a raw granola or even a raw muesli. And muesli to me is, we're just going to have those oats uncooked as they are, mixed with our coconut, our nuts, and our seeds. Like I did back in college, we'd put that into a Tupperware container, big plastic bin, then we'd pull that off the shelf. Maybe we'd soak it the night before, cook it into more of like a porridge the next day. That works really well. Or you can take it dried, toss it into yogurt, add some milk, however you want to enjoy that. So that's one option. If you want a bit of a toasted flavor, you can pre-toast the oats just on a hot skillet or in the oven, and it'll just kind of give it a little bit more toasted oat flavor. That is an option. Or what I'm going to show you here is we're going to actually toast it all together at the end. But again, it's all about lots of ideas and variations for you. Next one I love as a base are coconut flakes. So I'll do about a 2-to-1 ratio of oats to coconut. You can play with that. If you love the flavor of coconut, you can even step that up. You can have different forms of coconut. At the Light Cellar, we always carry the small little flakes. We also have, very oftentimes, the large ribbons as well. That can work. So I like a 2-to-1 ratio, coconut to oats, but you can absolutely go more or go less, depending on your preferences. All right, so that's our base. Coconut, oats, I'm going to give that a little toss. Next, we're going to add in the nuts and the seeds. This is, again, where you get to use whatever you have on hand, whatever you're drawn to, inspired to use. That could be sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, Brazil nuts, pecans, pumpkin, pistachios, hemp seeds, list goes on and on. Obviously, each is going to bring its own nutrition as well as flavor. One thing I've really been enjoying of late are these dark European pumpkin seeds. These are wonderful, super high in zinc and a great flavor. So again, we can just add those straight in raw, or we could toast them ahead of time, or do a toast all together at the end. You get to choose how much of a ratio you want in terms of your nuts and seeds. I usually do about the same amount of the coconut. So in our 4 cups oats, 2 cups coconut, and 2 cups nuts and seeds. You choose Brazil nuts, pumpkin, sunflower, sesame, hemp, etc. I'm going to add in these dark green pumpkin seeds. Adds a wonderful flavor as well as quite a neat look to it all. Just that dark green sticking right out. All right. Next, we're going to add in a dried fruit. Here, I'm sure, again, you've got your own preferences, inspirations, depending on the angle that you're trying to come at with an end result. I'm going to go for freeze-dried blueberries. Here they are over here. And these are fantastic. They have a really nice, like, light, airy quality to them, just through the nature of the freeze drying, which is one of the best ways to actually preserve them. You get the most amount of nutrition. There's sun drying, there's freeze drying, heat drying, but the freeze dried really adds quite a unique texture and wonderful in granola. So I'm going to put about 2 cups of dried fruit, and my dried fruit selection is all blueberries. I'm going to take that little oxygen pack out. When you have a fresh bag, definitely remove that. And of course, a classic could be raisins. Medjool dates are also a really good choice too. So cherries, you name it. I think you get the idea of the different varieties of fruits, of nuts, of seeds that you can get in there. And that's really where you're going to be able to play and create all these different flavors. Next here, this is where we're adding in the superfood powders, the herb powders. Believe it or not, this is actually my 3rd take doing this recipe for one reason or another. The first time I didn't have the mic plugged in, so I did the whole video, no audio. Second time, and again, another audio mistake. And each time I've done the recipe differently. Last time I did it, it was a maple pecan sacred lotus pollen granola. It was fantastic. I still have a little bit left over here. So that's the benefit of doing this recipe over and over again. I keep getting these wonderful batches of granola, and I keep getting to change it and vary it. I was looking at the store for the sacred lotus pollen, and then this caught my eye. So I'm going to do a very similar take on it, but I'm actually going to be using the Harmonic Arts Divine Feminine powder. Now it does have as its main ingredient the sacred lotus pollen. There's also maca, goji juice powder, shatavari, white peony, schizandra, brown seaweed extract, ashwagandha, don quai, and ginger. So quite the combo. This is going to be fantastic, super lovely. You get to choose whatever you want to put in there. There's also the sacred masculine. There's individual pollens, like pine pollen powder. There's green tea pollen powder. Those are great. You could even do one with medicinal mushrooms. Here's some lion's mane. You could maybe use a 5 or a 6 mushroom blend extract. You could pop that in. You get to create a lot of fun here. And again, whatever you're into in terms of a herb, a superfood like maca. Mesquite is a really nice flavor too. Mesquite, dates, coconut, that is a fantastic combination. So I'm going with the Divine Feminine. And, as the name suggests, it's for sure a little bit more for the ladies, but I don't mind partaking. These herbs are good for the guys too, no problem there. So we're going to put in, and of course if you wanted to strictly create this for the men, we can put in the sacred masculine, pine pollen, lots of variations. So 3 tablespoons, or that's a 1/4 cup. And there we go, in it goes. Vanilla, we're going to add that in the form of either powder or extract. So it's up to you. I've got both here. I'm going to show you extract. I'm going to assume that most of us have at home vanilla extract. And what I'm going to do is kind of a carrier is I'm going to put it into the coconut oil. So we're going to have to take some coconut oil, pre-melt that, just so it's in a nice form that we can pour it over the granola, mix it right in. So here's where we're diverging from a muesli, where we would just keep this dry as is, and turning it into granola, we need to add a little bit of oil, and a little bit of sweetener. So you can choose. You can use butter, you can use coconut oil. Those are kind of my two go-tos that I'll choose between. So best to pre-melt them, get those all ready, and then here's where you can add in your vanilla to the coconut oil, and that just becomes a nice like carrier, a delivery system for that vanilla to mix right in. If it was vanilla powder, no problem, it would mix in just like the rest of our Divine Feminine powder is. But with the coconut oil, you can add that vanilla as a nice carrier for that flavor. So we've got that melted, and you can see vanilla's in there now, and we're just going to pour that over top for that to mix in. And I've got half a cup of coconut oil. All these you can vary in terms of the amounts that you put in. So I'm just going to give that a little toss. Next is our sweetener. Now you can use honey, nice wildflower honey. If it's in a solid, more crystallized state, you would want to melt that with the coconut oil. Just a gentle double boiler, not direct heat, but a gentle transfer of heat through a double boiler. Or for this one, I'm going to go with the maple syrup. So equal parts, same as the coconut oil. So we're going to do half a cup of maple syrup. Now, your choice. You can make this as sweet or as non-sweet as you want. So I feel this one is kind of just right in that middle. Definitely eating this granola, it's not sweet. Some granolas can be really sweet, but it definitely is there, and I feel it really adds and enhances the flavor. Speaking of flavor enhancements, you can absolutely put in a little pinch of salt. So we can go ahead there, get some nice, good sea salt, high quality rock salt, whatever it is that you're inspired to add in. It's good minerals, it does what salt does, which helps bring up the flavor of everything, bring it all together. So now we simply toss, and here again, here you're at a crossroads where you could just leave as is, store in a bag, a jar, a container, and pull out and enjoy. This would be a raw granola, or you can now take this mixture, put it on a baking tray or into a skillet, and then just toast it. So that's just going to help bring up more of the flavors of the granola, that toasted oat, almond, coconut flavors, whatever you have in there. Great way to do that. So if you're doing it in the oven, we're going to spread it out on a baking sheet, turn our oven to 350, and pop it in there, and every once in a while we're going to stir it. We don't want it to burn. We've got to be really careful of that. So just keep an eye on it, and it may take you anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to get a nice light toast on this granola. Once it comes out, that will have kind of baked in the oils, baked in that sweetener, and you'll have a nice toasty granola that you store, again, in a bag, glass jar, or container. There we have it. There's your Superfood Granola. Again, I encourage you to check out all the different kind of flavor combinations. Apple cinnamon, yeah, great, it's a wonderful kind of classic, but be more creative. What else could you add to it? Is it maca? Is it mesquite? We could do a chocolate one with cacao, chocolate and mushrooms. That would be fantastic. Whatever you have on hand, this is an easy upgrade, a simple, basic recipe template that you can bring to nourishing your day.